Star Trek Into Darkness. This is my review. Just a heads up, there will be spoilers in this video. If you don't want any spoilers, don't watch it. If you don't want to know that John Harrison is really Khan, don't watch this video. If you don't want to know that Kirk dies at the end, only to be magically brought back to life through a blood transfusion, don't watch this. But anyway, yeah, I saw it last week when it first came out, and I just had some thoughts on it. Wanted to do a video here. Talking about this movie, I just want to quickly talk about the first movie, the Star Trek 2009 version, which I love this movie. It's great, actually. I really almost kind of came out of nowhere. Like, Star Trek, of course, it's a hot property. You know, it's a franchise, countless TV series, merchandise, things like that. Huge following. But to reboot it was such a dangerous thing to do, pretty much. But they pulled it off with kind of doing like an alternate timeline kind of thing. They're really able to kind of tread their own path, but at the same time make it as a reboot with the characters, you know, just starting fresh and being young and making mistakes and learning things, but in a slightly different way, stuff like that. So it kept the canon of the original series, but it's starting fresh. So I thought they did that very, very well. And plus, they just kind of rejuvenated the franchise, because really, like, it had its following, but it wasn't as hugely popular as it is now. Let's be honest. And it kind of achieved that by just defibrillating it, putting a jolt of adrenaline in it, making it more of an action adventure kind of run, which I know a lot of people didn't like about the first one, which they certainly won't like about Into Darkness, but I thought they did a good job. And most importantly about the first movie, it's all character based. Like, there's action, there's tons of it, there really is. But it's all character-based. It's more about the characters' reactions to the action than it is about the actual action, I think. They set up the characters very well, and like in the movie, like there's a key crucial point of the movie is that Kirk has to get Spock to react to something emotionally. Like, that's like an important part of the movie. So the fact that that's in the movie, like, more movies should be about the characters and the emotions. That's basically what I'm trying to say. But anyway, here we are with Star Trek Into Darkness, the eagerly awaited follow-up. You know, they set the new ground, they set the new reboot franchise, the new Trek. They set it up, and here we are again. And continuing the adventure with young Kirk, young Spock, Uhura, and Chekhov, and Scotty, and the rest. And just, you know, it does its job being a good follow-up and a really exciting action movie, and really the movie's like a ride. It really feels like one, pretty much, like, you know, flying around through space and all that fun stuff. So I thought it did the action stuff really well, and the 3D was really good, even though it wasn't originally filmed in 3D. So yeah, I mean, I don't really have any, you know, complaints about it as entertainment. Maybe as like a Star Trek movie, it does have certain issues about it. Like, you know, you could talk about it till the cows come home. Like, the problems with the movie. Like, I guess they kind of try to make it they kind of tried to respond to the criticisms that the first movie, wasn't as deep or philosophical as the original series, the original movies, and I think they kind of tried to tack on something like, kind of making this movie almost like a post 9/11 war on terror kind of allegory, which they don't really do so well, because if it's an allegory, it's muddled at best, and, you know, maybe I'm reading into it too much, but there's stuff that, like, there's stuff to support the allegory, but I don't know, the conclusion it comes to is just kind of too neatly wrapped up. Like, violence is bad, we should learn about peace, which is what Star Trek is all about, basically. But they don't really kind of do it so well, I don't think, in this movie. But, you know, whatever. I'm just kind of sick of the whole post 9/11 kind of movies. Like, they just draw the allegory for its own sake. They don't really do anything with it, which that makes it kind of in bad taste. I mean, like I was talking about Iron Man 3 and the terrorist bombings, and it's just I'm just sick of it. Like something like Dark Knight can get away with it because it actually has something interesting to say about, you know, the war on terror and the Patriot Act and the ethical dilemma of like monitoring with technology and stuff like that. So, you know, they did a good job. But here it's not really there for any particular reason. But that's the kind of thing about Star Trek. I mean, the Klingon race. I mean, they can represent whatever they need to. Like they can represent, the Soviet Union, like the Middle East. Like if you look at like Star Trek V, The Final Frontier, that's basically like a Middle Eastern war movie, pretty much. I mean, if you think about it. But yeah, that kind of didn't work so well. But the characters themselves, I mean, they're all great. I've come to a point where I have accepted, Chris Pine as Captain Kirk. I've accepted Zachary Quinto as Spock, and Zoe Saldana as Uhura, and the rest. I don't want to go through a laundry list, but they all do a great job. My favorite is actually Carl Urban as Bones McCoy, but they didn't really give him that much to do in this movie. They give Simon Pegg a lot to do, by the way, and he's hilarious. But yeah, Captain Kirk and Chris Pine, he does a really great job. The real cocksure, cocky, just playing by his own rules kind of guy. I think he's great at that. And Zachary Quinto, he probably is the highlight of these two movies so far. Like, he really, it's kind of a brilliant performance when you think about it, because he does have to play this Vulcan, half-human kind of guy, and his delivery of everything is so deadpan, but he's really delivering funny jokes, but he doesn't know that they're funny, and, reactions and, back and forth with other people. So he has to play it in such a way that I don't think he gets enough credit for. I mean, we almost just look at him, we don't even think it's a performance, we think it's the character. So that's how good he is. So that's my credit to him. I mean, he does a great job as Spock. And everyone does a great job, except, my complaints with the movie, they're probably not too different than other people's complaints with the movie. Like, I didn't think Alice Eve as Carol Marcus was that good, to be honest. Performance wasn't that good. She doesn't have that much to do, really, except kind of be a damsel in distress, almost, sort of. And, the whole needlessly, shamelessly gratuitous underwear scene, which I can see why people would have a problem with that, because there's really no point to it. She's just pretty much like, oh, hello, look at my titties, kind of like that, and it's just stupid there for no reason at all. If they only had, like, the guts to actually do, like, a sex scene, I mean, they could get away with it then. I don't know why they just had her undressed for no reason. Never mind, whatever, who cares? Boobies. But, also, just the whole kind of twist to the movie, too, like the Khan twist. It was kind of unnecessary. But, like, Damon Lindelof, he went on social media and defended it and saying, we don't want the audience to be ahead of us, even though anyone walking in that movie who knew anything about anything, even read a single tiny tidbit on the internet, would know that he's Spock, or at least strongly, highly suspected it. But he's running around as John Harrison, but then he reveals his name is Spock, and the thing I like about that, even though the twist is stupid, predictable, you could see it coming, I do think, as a whole, like, Benedict Cumberbatch, he's great as the villain, and I think he does a great job. Whether his name is John Harrison, whether his name is Khan, he's a great villain, very, very, he's just so, like, classically villain. It's almost hard to describe it. Like, how, like, they can get these classic British actors, like, grab them off from stage, and they'll do these amazing performances as villains in movies, laundry list of any characters. None of them come to mind right now, because I'm getting a little flustered, but anyway, he's great. He has such a command of presence on screen. He doesn't go over the top, but he just has such a command over every single scene, and his voice is so bravado. He's just so great. A+ to Benedict Cumberbatch. He was great. Like, you don't need me to tell you that. He was definitely the highlight of the movie. And whether or not the twist works or not is almost besides the point, because when he reveals his name is actually Khan, he doesn't change character. Like, take example Iron Man 3 again. When they have a much better twist, like on the basis of twist, most definitely, like with the Mandarin character, but I won't get into that in case you haven't seen it. But basically, the twist kind of is at the cost of a good villain. So once we have the twist, we are left with a generic villain that isn't too good and isn't too satisfying. So that's the mistake they made. Here, the mistake they made is not making a big enough twist, but who really cares in the long run? Because any fan is going to watch the movie 800 million bajillion times, so may as well enjoy it for what it is, and I think it does its job in that respect with the villain. So, you got great action, got a great villain. That's pretty much all you need. It would be nice if there's a little bit more, if their kind of deeper messages worked a little bit better, but they don't really. And I do kind of wish that they kind of did more what they did in the last movie, kind of tread their own territory a little bit more. Like, for example, blowing up Vulcan. I mean, that was a ballsy move. That was something you wouldn't expect. But they did it within the first 40 minutes of the movie. So, it makes you think, even if you're familiar with the movies, it's unpredictable in its own way. And I was kind of hoping for more of the same thing with this one. But I think they make the mistake of paying almost too much homage to the older movies, because there's a lot of elements of this that are very much like Wrath of Khan, Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, where they just switch roles with Kirk and Spock. Instead of Spock dying, it's Kirk. But they don't even wait a whole movie to bring Kirk back. They bring him back in 5 minutes, which, what's the point of that? And I don't know. The ending is definitely the weakest point in the movie, I think. The last maybe 40 minutes or so, definitely the weakest parts, because I can't really describe why. I mean, the whole chase and stuff with Spock and Khan, and kind of all boils down to a fist fight. I didn't think it was that good. Running around, jumping on cars, just a way to show off special effects. I didn't think it was that particularly exciting or anything like that. Whereas everything else kind of was. There was some really cool stuff. We've seen ship battles in these types of movies time and time again, but they found a way to make it a little more interesting. Like when the Enterprise is going upside down, and it's kind of like the Poseidon Adventure almost, where Kirk and Scotty, they're hanging upside down from the bridge, and it's oh no, but whatever. Did I describe that well? I hope I did. You've seen it. But yeah, the ending could have used a little work. What I liked about, say, this, comparing this to Wrath of Khan, which still, end of the day, it's still the best Star Trek movie. You got to give it that. The way the director, Nicholas Meyer, kind of envisioned it, even though he wasn't a fan of Star Trek per se, neither is J.J. Abrams, by the way. He said, and I think it's on the DVD or on IMDb trivia or something like that, he envisioned it as Horatio Hornblower in space, which I thought was interesting, because that's kind of what it is. It's these two ships passing in the night. They pass again. One of them's pissed off. Pissed off ship is Khan's ship, and he wants Kirk out for blood. And the very, very unique thing, I think, is that Kirk and Khan, they're head-to-head enemies in that movie, but they don't even share the screen together. They see each other through communicators, but they're the captains of their ships. It's all about tact. It's all about, arranging a certain battle plan, seeing what tricks you have up their sleeve, and kind of designing your own kind of attack battles, so basically. Which there are elements of that in this. I mean, there was one good trick that Spock pulled at the end of the movie, where he switches the bombs, so takes out the bodies of the superhuman Khan people, and blows up the ship, which I thought was really well done. But other than that, it's I don't know, it's almost too intimate. They're buddying around and stuff, and fighting together, and I don't know. I like the lack of intimacy that you saw in Wrath of Khan, because it is kind of like a warship movie, but set in the future, and I thought that was kind of cool. And, well, I'm going to just go on about Wrath of Khan over. That's a great movie. I wish I was watching that right now. But Into Darkness, very good movie. It does its job in the entertainment area. No real complaints other than the ones that I've just listed vehemently right here. But yeah, on the whole, satisfying movie. Good. It is what it is. It could have been better. It could have been a lot better. But I still have hopes, and I'm just glad that the Star Trek franchise is still alive and well after over 60 years. Like really, like that's amazing endurance right there. I do like the first Star Trek better, the first J.J. Abrams Star Trek. This one's kind of in the middle of the pack when it comes to all the movies as a whole. Not particularly bad, but not especially great. I think I have a good feeling that the third one, if they make a third one, which I'm sure they will, I have a feeling that's going to be the be-all, end-all. It's just that this one, it does have its problems with kind of the whole end with Kirk and Spock, Kirk dying. It didn't have the emotional impact that I think they intended it to have because one, anyone even new to the franchise, they're not invested enough in just a second movie. They could have waited for the third movie to do something like that. Anyone who is familiar with the franchise, they're gonna see kind of the trick. It's just switching Wrath of Khan. That's all they're doing pretty much. So it's like depending on how much you know. Like I personally, I felt like Spock. I finally figured out how Spock feels. So I want to feel emotion in this scene. I really do, and I'm almost trying to, because I do like the characters and I like the movie and everything they've set up. But my logic is telling me this is really just a screenwriting trick. They're probably patting themselves on the back about how clever it is to kind of switch around the roles of Wrath of Khan. I'm just seeing, I don't know what I'm seeing, but yeah, I don't know, I didn't feel the emotion that I should have, but hopefully with the third movie they really go all out, and I hope they give us something special. But the first one was very something special. This was something good, but Star Trek lives on. Not really much else to say. Live long and prosper. Thanks for watching.